Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Let's talk about the Game Boy Advance. It just recently passed that it was the 20th anniversary of the Game Boy Advance, which is crazy. That's nuts because I remember going to buy it when it was pretty new, I feel like. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the SP was already out at the time. I don't know. When you're young, stuff's just confusing, and you just think everything's new and cool, especially if you don't have it. I kind of just wanted to go over the Game Boy Advance, just kind of some of my memories of it, and like whether or not it's even like worth having in 2021. Spoiler, I think so, yes, but with some caveats. So just a little bit of backstory on how I got into Game Boys. I helped clean my aunt's garage, and I had no idea what Game Boys were. I did not have a clue, and I found the original Game Boy, and I was like, wow, what is this thing? Like, it's so cool though, and it can play games. Like, that's awesome. And so I asked my aunt, I'm like, hey, can I have this? And she's like, sure, after we finish, cleaning the garage. I don't remember why we were cleaning my aunt's garage, but we went down there to help. I don't know why. It was probably just an excuse for my mom to see her sister. But anyways, she's like, yeah, sure. After you guys are done helping, you can have it. Well, of course, my siblings were upset that they did not get a Game Boy. I did. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's yours because you found it and you asked for it, but like you kind of have to share with your siblings. So obviously that was pretty annoying. And had 0 games for it too. But I think that day or the day after, my aunt actually went and got us a few games for it. I think she got us like Tetris and Hercules and Toy Story, I want to say, were like the 3 that she grabbed. Which I still have Hercules and Toy Story. I don't have Tetris. I think I sold it a while ago. I don't hate me, but I never was really that into Tetris. It just wasn't something that really piqued my interest, but I understand the people who do really enjoy it. So that was what happened. Unfortunately, because my aunt saw that my siblings were a little jealous of the fact that they had nothing while I had an amazing Game Boy that took 4 AA batteries, she actually got them for their birthday because I think it was going to be their birthday soon or somewhere around there. She actually got both of them Game Boy Colors, which I still don't know if she just didn't know the difference or if at the time they just weren't even selling the original Game Boy anymore and it was only Game Boy Colors in the store. But they got Game Boy Colors, which I was super upset about because they got access to a whole host of other games that I couldn't play. And so my sister's here with, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, and my brother has Donkey Kong, and I can't play either of them because they're Game Boy Color games. And we found that out pretty quick. So then for my birthday, I took my birthday money and I went and bought a Game Boy Advance. I had the original Indigo Game Boy Advance. I think at the time I maybe wanted silver, but I know my friend was really, really into buying like the original Nintendo colors. Like, I'm pretty sure his Game Boy, his GameCube, they were like, everything had to be Game Boy Color. They all had to be like the original, like that indigo color. For whatever reason, I don't know. But so that kind of stuck with me, and so I also grabbed an indigo. But purple was like is my favorite color. Was then. Whatever, it all worked out. And I remember being in the store, and I was like, oh, I can get one game. And I got, I believe the first game I got was Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which, as you know, it has a game-breaking bug in it, in the Mines of Moria, which didn't even matter because I couldn't even make it through the Mines of Moria. But, and then I also got Star Wars Attack of the Clones, which is one of like the lowest rated Game Boy Advance games that came out for the system. So I picked awesome back then. I had no idea what I was doing. But anyways, so I had this Game Boy Advance for forever, and if you watched the last video, I kind of talked about how my taste in gaming has kind of evolved. And if you remember, in high school, I definitely went towards what I would call like, high school gamer, where I was just like sports games, Call of Duty, and that was pretty much it. So the appeal of the handheld was kind of being lost on me, and I wasn't fully appreciating it because I wasn't playing any of the cool games. Like, I wasn't gonna pick up like an RPG. I was not about turn-based games. I wasn't gonna play, any of these really story-heavy games, which is really disappointing, because I would have. Well, I don't know actually that I would have had that much fun. So maybe it is better that I waited. But anyways, I hung on to my Game Boy. I don't know why. I don't know what made me hang on to it. I feel like it was nostalgia, but I don't know because I don't really think of myself as a very nostalgic person. But I held on to my Game Boy Advance. I held on to all the Game Boys actually. So I had the original, I had my siblings' two Game Boy Colors, and then my Game Boy Advance. And I would pull it out every like few years or so to try to see if I could like get back into it, and then I'd get frustrated with it, and then I'd put it away again, and the cycle kept happening. And I wasn't really sure why I wasn't. It wasn't just kind of clicking with me until we get to the 20th anniversary, and I remember scrolling through on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, 20th anniversary! That's really cool. That's crazy." I remember going and buying this in the store. It was like the new hot thing, and I remember I saw this post of someone who said, "Hey, check out my modded Game Boy Advance." And my mind was blown. Like, I was like, you can mod a game? I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'm like, wow, I wonder what people are doing with them. And that took me down a whole rabbit hole of people were adding better screens onto them. People were adding new ways to have batteries. And it was nuts. And I realized my biggest complaints with the Game Boy Advance, because I love the design. I love the design of the Game Boy Advance more than the Game Boy Advance SP. I'm not as big a fan as the Game Boy Advance SP, but I understand Nintendo was heading in that direction because of like the DS and the, all those models. But I liked the Game Boy Advance style, which ironically enough is pretty similar to the Nintendo Switch style that they have now. I just like it just being a little bigger, a little wider, just fits my hands better, just feels nicer. So, and you don't have to worry about hinges. That also always annoyed me a little bit. But I pull out my Game Boy Advance, still works great. But the things that still bug me are that I cannot see the screen because the screen is awful. If you go and look at an original Game Boy Advance, the screen is bad. Like, it's so dark. You have to have light like directly on it trying to help you, or everything needs to be super dark. Like, it's hard to play. I remember trying to play it on a plane. Like, I had to close the window every time because I could never see the screen if the window was open. And just stuff like that. I never have AA batteries anymore. Never. Like, that's for smoke alarms, and that's it. Like, I never have AA batteries. And those were the things that were really frustrating me. Because it's like, this is a great system. I want to get back into it, especially because my game tastes have kind of changed and evolved. And I'm getting more into like RPGs and stuff. And especially as I talked about in the last video about Final Fantasy, I got into Final Fantasy and I wanted to go through and play the Final Fantasies. And the best way to play a lot of them is on the Game Boy Advance. So I found on Instagram this guy called Game Over Customs. And if you send your Game Boy to him, he will actually take money off if your Game Boy works. And all he has to do is reshell it and put it in a new shell. And then also he has a discount code for starting up, all that stuff. It's all on his site. You can check it out. He's great. He works quickly, and I have not had any complaints about my Game Boy Advance so far. But let's get into the actual Game Boy Advance. So as you can see, it no longer is the Indigo. Obviously, I changed from that because that was not one of the options on the cases. I do miss the original indigo color, and I'm not gonna lie, the shell, you can tell it feels different, for sure. But one thing I will say is that the buttons actually feel pretty good. I know that that's a big complaint that a lot of people had when they were doing modding and stuff, where they're saying if you don't have the right buttons, then they feel really fake and they feel bad. They're just not as smooth as the Nintendo buttons. But and I can't remember if Game Over Custom used the originals. I'm pretty sure that he used my original buttons from my old Game Boy Advance, and they still feel fantastic. So that is not a complaint that I have. Obviously, the biggest things that I wanted to do were change the screen and the battery, and I did both of those. Now, some people go all out with this, like they mod it like crazy. I mean, I've seen people put like Raspberry Pis in these so they can have like operating systems and stuff. Like they go nuts. I kept it pretty simple. This is literally just the internals of my old Game Boy are in here. As you can see, it looks fantastic. Look at that. My first number one complaint was the screen. So obviously I got a glass screen. It's an IPS version 2, I believe. And it is so bright and so clean. Let me turn it on. Look at how bright that is. It looks so good. I had a physical reaction when I turned it on for the first time and I saw what it looked like. Because like I said, I'd been messing around with it in its original state. And I think I said, like, I was like, wow. And like I went and showed my wife because I'm like, look at how different this looks. Like, it's so weird to see new technology on something old like this. Like, the screen looks fantastic. That I turned it down a bunch too. So on this one, I actually went for the dimmer option. So if I hold down select and press on the buttons, I can actually dim the screen. And now you might be able to see it a little better. But yeah, look at how good that looks. It's phenomenal. I couldn't believe how amazing it looks. And it's so easy to change the dimming of the screen too. You turn it down and you save power. It's super awesome. Check the back. That is a C charger. I think it's called a Clean Juice battery. Right there, C charger right in the back. So I literally can just go plug it in, and I mean I've plugged it in while on the plane, like to just keep playing, and it works. It's crazy. It works so good. I love it. The only thing I will say is that on the shells, because they just by their nature are a little bit different to fit, because the screens are bigger. So from what I understand, screens were not like a standard size back when, these games and stuff were coming out, these consoles. So the IPS screen is actually set to a standard size, which therefore makes it bigger than what the original screen was. So on the shells, you do have to actually, and you can kind of see, I believe you can kind of see right in here. You can see right in here that little bit of discoloration. That's from where it had to be cut, because you do have to cut a little more room for the IPS screen to fit in. So in saying that, the shell does have some gaps. So like right here where the headphone jack goes in, there's a little bit of a gap. There's a little bit of a gap right there on the power button, or that's the volume button, sorry. But yeah, just because the shells don't fit quite as snug as the old original ones, obviously, because it's a reshell, there's not much you can do. But other than that, This literally fixed two of the biggest complaints that I had about my Game Boy Advance, and I have been having a blast with this thing. I've picked up so many games for it. I think that'll be one of the other videos I do, is I'll go over like my Game Boy Advance collection if you guys are interested in that, and I'll show off the games that I have for it right now. I'll show all the Game Boy games actually, not just Game Boy Advance. But yeah, so I guess in conclusion, sorry this was so long-winded, I can talk about this stuff for hours. It's fun to me. Is the Game Boy Advance worth it in 2021? For me, the answer is yes, as I said at the beginning, with some caveats. The caveats being, I think, modded. I totally respect the people who love the Game Boy for what it is and in its original state. Any of them, especially the Game Boy Advance. But for me personally, it wasn't working in the old state. It was just frustrating me too much trying to play with the old screen. It was frustrating me trying to have batteries for it on hand all the time. And it just was not worth it. My playing of this console has gone up so much higher now that I've actually changed stuff on it. And the best part is there's so many people who know how to do this now. If any of you guys have even watched like the Retro Future or anything, like there's tons of great videos. Handheld Legend, they have tons of awesome videos, tutorials on how to do this. You could even do it yourself. I personally didn't want to mess with it because I don't trust myself with soldering and all that. I don't own the equipment either. But if you do and you're wondering if you should, try this, go for it. There's so many Game Boy Advances out there, old ones with old plastic screens that are fogging up, that are scratched, whatever, that just need some love and just need to be reshelled and given new life. Please do it. Like, you're saving these amazing consoles. You're letting other people play them far beyond probably what anybody thought people would be playing these for. I mean, like I said, we just passed 20 years for the Game Boy Advance. That's nuts. And people are still enjoying these. I'm still enjoying it. And there's so many more games still that I want to play for it. So, yeah, Game Boy Advance, very near and dear to my heart, because it was literally my first console, aside from the original Game Boy. But it's definitely one of my favorites. So, yeah, if you're thinking about it, do it. It's very worth it to get it modded. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and listening to me just ramble about the Game Boy Advance. This is kind of what this channel is going to be. This is going to be me talking about things that I love and just rambling about them because I love them. If you guys want to follow me or you want to suggest something for me to talk about, then you can just leave a comment below, or you can follow me at Kana Games, Kana_games on Instagram, Kana_games with a Z on Twitter, and then same deal on TikTok. Please make sure to give a like and give a comment so I can try to figure out this YouTube algorithm, and maybe find some other people who also feel so passionately about the Game Boy Advance. They can talk about it for 20 minutes, raw, unedited. We'll see what it ends up when I go through and edit it. But yeah, like I said, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.